Attention Jan, the car battery is running low. You will be redirected to the next quick charging station on your route to the Frankfurt International Airport. While you wait, I will check you in for your flight to Orlando.
Please welcome Jan Gilg.
Yeah, welcome everybody to Sapphire 2022. And as you could see, I made it here pretty smoothly based on some amazing technology I had at my hand. And I have to say, when we actually did the shooting for the video, the girl that you saw in the passenger seat in the old timer, that was actually my daughter. She's 10 years old, and the first thing she asked was, what is actually this lever inside of the door? The lever actually to bring up and down the window. So those are basically moments where I personally feel pretty old. And I think it's nice to reminisce a little bit every now and then, but I believe none of us would actually like to miss the technology that we have at our disposal nowadays. And specifically, if you think about GPS, that came a long way, back to literally where we used paper maps like you saw in the video, then the first cars with GPS systems that you had to load actually with a CD-ROM, for those of you who remember. And then nowadays you have intelligence that is actually built into those cars. And they do much more than just take you from A to B. They actually predict what's going to happen on your journey. They can tell you about, or they know about the weather conditions, they know about the road conditions, they know about any disruption that can happen. And what they do is actually they adjust your route all the time in order to get you to your destination as fast and as well as possible. So why is that even possible? It is because those cars, they are actually permanently connected to the cloud, and they have access to various data sources that they can pull in, and then they have the intelligence to make sense out of it and actually adjust the route and the navigation. And while every one of us is used to use this kind of technology, when I look at many customers and companies out there, they're still using pretty outdated technologies actually. And this technology is something that helps them, or actually they look into the rear mirror in order to steer their business instead of looking forward, predicting, simulating, and so on. And SAP S/4HANA Cloud is really here to change that. It is here to be a catalyst actually for this change. It is a modern cloud ERP solution that will help you to transform the way you navigate your business challenges. And certainly there's plenty of them. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. There's a lot of disruption everywhere. And there's also a lot of complexity because business isn't getting more easy. It is actually getting more complex. And we heard a lot about disruptions. The global pandemic is still there. We see the war in Ukraine. Nobody can actually predict what is happening. Yesterday we optimized for cost. Today we are actually optimizing for resilience. What are we going to do tomorrow? Nobody can really tell. And companies ask those questions. They ask how to navigate actually this kind of a complexity, and they look to technology in order to help them. And at the end of the day, it is all about intelligence. Intelligence has to be at the core because intelligence is enabling prediction, forecasting, simulation, and really can have actually then an impact on helping you to navigate. It's also about putting those insights then to action, taking the real-time data and then using predefined business rules and powerful analytics and really putting that then actually into action, into automated business processes. And doing this above and beyond the boundaries of your own enterprise. Really tapping into a business network, tapping into your ecosystem where we extend those business processes. And that's why intelligence is actually also front and center of SAP S/4HANA Cloud. When you're navigating your business challenges, the shortest way is not always the best way. And we know that also from the GPS analogy. It has always given you different options. Sometimes it's, you want to be there the fastest or the cheapest because you want to avoid tolls, or which route do you want to take. In business, we have used to take decisions either based on profitability actually, or based on growth. Today and in the future, we believe there is another dimension that will be critical actually to steer a business and to run a business, and that's sustainability. And while ERP has always been able to manage the value flow and the material flow in a very integrated way, SAP S/4HANA Cloud now adds another dimension, which is the environmental information. It provides you, actually, it tracks this information. It provides you the ESG reporting on top of it. And at the end of the day, it will provide you also some sort of a green ledger. And with that, we will be able then also to take companies from a reporting on ESG and frankly a lot of greenwashing towards a true green accounting and driving true accountability. And with that, I believe we can have a massive impact then also on the planet if you think about how many SAP systems or how SAP systems are used actually in the global economy. And with that, at the end of the day, we do want to create momentum for you, for your business. In some cases, we want to recreate this momentum because at the end of the day, in every disruption, there's also opportunity. SAP S/4HANA Cloud brings you 100% cloud value. Why? Because it is able to access data, various data sources in the cloud. It is able to allow then for real-time decision-making embedded actually in business processes. The system deals with the complexity. It puts the end user front and center. That's why we are investing heavily in user experience. And you always have the latest innovation actually available at your disposal. But at the end of the day, it's also about trust. We know that you have to trust us to run your most mission-critical business processes. So we need to provide a platform that is actually highly secure and offers operational excellence. S/4HANA Public Cloud, S/4HANA Cloud is actually something for everyone. There's value for the entire C-suite. And from a CFO perspective, for instance, of course, there's always interest in efficiencies and how can I faster close the period, for instance, but also the question, how can I grow? And if I take a customer, TELUS Agriculture, their mission is actually to tackle some of the most significant social challenges by meeting increasing consumption needs and improve the quality, safety, and sustainability of food and consumer goods. And what they are doing is actually they're using a highly integrated quote-to-cash process, which is part of SAP S/4HANA Cloud, and it helps them to go from selling individual products and services to selling bundled solutions, including software subscriptions, services, hardware, like IoT devices. And what is the result? The result is a higher food outcome for consumers, but also higher efficiencies and profits for farmers and ranchers. The CIO, that has been always a traditional audience for an ERP solution, and it's also highly relevant in the cloud world. S/4HANA Cloud consistently helps CIOs to deliver innovation to their business while reducing the TCO, while reducing also the complexity of the IT landscape. Take Rehau as an example. They achieved a 40% reduction in TCO. And finally, the COO, who's again looking into end-to-end processes along the supply chain. He looks at operational efficiencies, but also how can I enable growth actually and connecting the supply chain with the demand chain and at the end of the day create a superior customer experience. Here there's a company called Vitra. It's a leading brand ceramic sanitary ware company. They have actually achieved a 25% increase in sales thanks to increased output in production. So you can see that S/4HANA Cloud really helps you to get to new levels of efficiency but also productivity. So why is S/4HANA Cloud different? And I would like to talk about 3 things that you might not actually associate with a typical ERP solution. Connect, create, and collaborate. Connect and collaborate means actually we're bringing the integration of S/4HANA Cloud into a user's collaboration and productivity environment. While a lot of the transactions are actually being automated, the end user is pulled in for exception handling in their native environment, often also mobile. And that's why we have delivered an integration into Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Office, and there's much more to come. That allows ad hoc collaboration, brings work to the user, and always adds the business context to that work. We also just announced the Google Workspace integration. That's along the same line, the same intention, bringing SAP and Google Sheets and Google Docs together. And at the end of the day, we do innovate the way we work together or work gets done and create a seamless user experience. And we are doing the same with companies over the business network, bringing companies together, connecting them, and creating a seamless experience then also for the customers of our customers. Because if you look at ERP, we look at end-to-end processes from commerce to order fulfillment, billing, compliant accounting, including ESG reporting, carbon footprint tracking, and so on. And because S/4HANA Cloud is at the center of our modular cloud ERP, deeply integrated into our best-in-class solutions. And it all sits on a common foundation. First one is optimized and reimagined business processes. Second, a high degree of automation using intelligent technologies. And third, a trusted and reliable cloud operation. So again, we want to create momentum for your business. We believe S/4HANA Cloud is the foundation to navigate your business through times of uncertainty and disruption that we see. And there's clear outcome that we are measuring, actually, with our business process intelligence capabilities. So now let me introduce to someone who has actually implemented SAP S/4HANA very early on, and she would like to share some of her experiences. So please welcome Kris Cowles. She is the Senior Vice President IT for Topcon Positioning Systems. So welcome, Kris, on stage. So Kris, tell us about yourself and about Topcon.
Sure. It's actually a topic I'm passionate about, and it aligns with the theme of the event. Topcon is a company that provides productivity solutions for the commercial, construction, and agriculture markets. So we do everything from satellite positioning technology to guide large vehicles and machinery to laser surveying, 3D mobile mapping. And we can apply that ubiquitously to a number of industries. But when you think about the world having more people, needing to feed and house them, the global construction and global agriculture industries represent almost 15% of the world GDP. And if we can make those industries more productive, it's not only good for our customers and cost effective, but we also can help them, use less resources to achieve better goals. So less waste, less fertilizer, less water, applying things appropriately in the intelligent paving space. When you think about, this industry average of 1% productivity gains in construction over the last 20 years, there's a massive opportunity there to become more efficient. At Topcon, I've been there 8 years. We've really done a lot of transitions. I lead IT, and we have both a traditional B2B business, but we also own our retail go-to-market model, so we also essentially do B2B2C.
Perfect. So why did you choose SAP S/4HANA Cloud actually very early on already? I think it was in 2017.
It was. We've been live now for 5 years on our first installation. We chose it because very specifically, we have a large enterprise ECC environment for our manufacturing locations, and we wanted an agile edge solution for us in our go-to-market division, specifically so that we could keep them federated, we could keep them agile, we could keep standardization at the edge to sort of middle of the company, and sort of disaggregate the need for everybody to participate in regression testing and the ROI of a sales and marketing office requirement is not the same as a manufacturing ROI. And to put them in the same bucket where they compete really puts certain parts of the business at a disadvantage. So by moving forward with that two-tier model and putting a portion of the architecture on cloud, we could standardize the cloud edge, implement, learn, tweak, innovate, and change in a place that was not disruptive to the core portions of manufacturing.
Yeah, and frankly, we see this a lot actually with other customers, this two-tier approach. I think this is something where we have also a pretty strong focus on, frankly, from a product perspective, and I believe there's much more to come. So let me ask you this: what business value actually have you seen over the last couple of years?
It's been interesting because in some cases it's exactly where we predicted, in other cases, there were things that cropped up that we really didn't anticipate. First, I would say that we have moved the challenge of the technology company providing the innovation to the challenge becoming our ability to consume innovation. And with cloud, for us, we've been able to implement pretty rapidly. You build a model and then you can kind of blow through your deployment chain in a reasonable time frame. Cloud projects somewhere between 3 to 6 months, depending on the environment. And the ability to get some of that instantaneous roll-up, the ability to get very real-time feedback from the users as to what's working, what's not working, and then the ability to connect into other SAP solutions quite rapidly, I think has been pretty transformational for us. Some of the areas we probably didn't anticipate that were a positive surprise were really in some of the financial transparency. I mean, we knew it would be pretty good. It's been excellent. And some of the leading edge innovations there have been really impactful to our financial organization. But as you look at it, I think some of the machine learning opportunities and the AI and how it translates into how you can potentially advise your business partners about the process itself becomes the conversation of the future.
Yeah. No, and I agree, like I alluded to earlier, AI is obviously also in development a big deal. We continue to really double down on that, and I believe in the next couple of years this will become also mainstream. It has to do a lot with trust, right? If the end user trusted, if the end user would really trust in the system to do things completely automated and so on, but I think it's just a matter of time, frankly.
It also becomes a strategic conversation with your C-suite about the difference between services and product. You know, when we consume a service, it has to be up, fast, and secure. And then the features behind it are only valuable if it's operating efficiently, almost the way that you would operate it yourself. I think that's one of the challenges from the legacy ERP environment is that, if something was down, your C-suite sort of came down to your office and there was a single person to sort of, you're sleeping in the office until that's back up. We're handing that trust over now to you and to other cloud providers to say, you can run mission critical applications, but in order for that to be effective for us, we have to have that ongoing dialogue about what the value is that it provides and how it helps us scale.
So maybe just to close it out, summarize what was your experience, and maybe you have also some advice actually for some folks in the audience who are looking forward to a similar journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we were very early days, there's somewhere between co-innovation and, bleeding edge experience that we went through, but the partnership, I think, that came out of that was amazing. The product has evolved significantly, and I think when we talk about the learning experiences of the journey that we've both been on, a lot of that value is in understanding as a company where you can drive customization where you need it and only where you need it, because it becomes technical debt, and that technical debt should only be there if it's strategic, and where you can leverage standardization because the innovation is available and available to be adopted, and then you're only gated by your ability to consume innovation, which then becomes an organizational change management issue. And one of the things I would encourage people to think about is, what is that appetite for change within your C-suite, within your business organizations, to be able to, we talk a lot about continuous feature delivery or micro releases. Maybe that's something that works in pieces of your business, and other pieces it may not, because they need stability, they want to measure change, they can't constantly retrain people. So balancing that portfolio decisions and where your executive stakeholders are and what meets your business, I think, is critical. And I would tell you with cloud, though, if your competitors have cloud, they're going to be able to adopt that innovation pretty quickly. And you need to decide if you're going to put yourself in a level playing field and maybe even get an advantage on them by being able to then continue to innovate.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kris, for sharing some of those insights here. And I believe this is exactly what we also want to be with S/4HANA Cloud. We do want you actually to become a catalyst for change in your industry, just like Kris is in hers. And we want to help you to navigate to become an intelligent and sustainable enterprise. You heard a lot of it about that today. My call to action is get on board and come with us on this transformational journey. I know it is transformational, and invest actually in this digital transformation into a digital backbone It is centerpiece also for the end-to-end customer experience at the end of the day. And I hope you have gotten a little glimpse that SAP S/4HANA Cloud is really different. It's all about value. It's all about outcome. And we are certainly here for you to partner on this journey. And with that, I would like to thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.